Let's talk about real estate, and specifically, let's talk about what's happening nationwide with the real estate market. We're going to go over some of this new data that's come out in the last couple days by Redfin, and I think you guys are going to be blown away by some of the stuff that's happening in the real estate market right now. And definitely stick around, because later towards the end, we will cover what's happening in the condo market and how badly the number of sellers outnumbers the number of buyers in the condo market right now across the nation. I'm going to look at two articles, in fact, today, and I will go ahead and link those articles down below if you guys want to take a look at them yourselves. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Here we are in this first article, and it says US home sellers are sitting on nearly 700 billion worth of listings, an all-time high. Now, as we scroll down, it says more than 330 billion worth of listings have been sitting on the market for 60 days or longer. Rising inventory and slow home buying demand is pushing up the total dollar amount of home listings and will push down the home sale prices by the end of the year. So they are predicting home prices to fall by the end of the year. Surprisingly, they're predicting a very small amount, which we'll take a look at in a minute. But in any case, they are predicting falling home prices now. And as you can see here, we have a nice little graph that shows unsold housing inventory is worth a record $698 billion. This is obviously higher here than any point going back to 2012, which they have listed on the graph. And then they define stale inventory here. We define stale inventory as home listings that spend at least 60 days on the market and are actively listed for sale on the final day of the relevant month. The total value of US home listings is at an all-time high because of the combination of growing inventory, slowing demand, and increasing home sale prices. And here we'll go down, we'll take a quick look at these bulleted points. Housing supply is at a 5-year high. We know that, we've been talking about that. There are many more sellers than buyers in the market. The total number of homes on the market nationwide rose 16.7% year over year in April to its highest level in 5 years. With the mortgage rate lock-in effect easing and home buyers trying to cash out due to economic uncertainty, new listings increased 8.6% to a 3-year high. So I've kind of been talking about this on this channel and in general for quite a while now, and it seems like we're starting to finally see those holdout sellers that were hoping for lower rates, so that way when they sell their home and buy the next home that they could get a lower rate on that home. That's starting to subside, and a lot of those sellers, we could say pent up supply, if you will, are finally starting to enter the market. They're giving up on that wait, and they're starting to go forward with their plans that they've probably been waiting on in many cases. And so we're starting to see that inventory build up faster than the demand from buyers can absorb it. Next, it says homes are sitting on the market longer. The typical home that sold in April took 40 days to go under contract, 5 days longer than a year earlier. There's also a growing share of inventory that's been sitting on the market for longer than 2 months, and home buyer demand is falling. Home prices are rising, so we're still seeing modest home price gains across the country. But again, we have all this inventory that's sitting, that's not selling. So the reality is that for a lot of this to sell, if these sellers actually want to get these homes sold, they're going to have to start lowering prices. And of course, that's why Redfin is predicting prices to go down, as well as lots of other sources and outlets of information. Note that the total inventory is up by much more, 20.3% year over year, which signals that in recent years, the rising number of listings is a bigger factor in the total value of inventory than rising prices. And here's the shocker. Another Redfin analysis found that there are nearly 500,000 more home sellers than buyers in today's housing market. The fact that so many homes are being listed without buyers out there to purchase them, along with continually rising prices, explains why there are 12 figures worth of unsold inventory sitting on the market. And I've been talking about this for a while. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing home sellers price their homes as if they're going to get top dollar. They're pricing off of listings that sold a year ago when there was less homes listed, more buyers in the market, and things were hotter. And so these homes are just overpriced, plain and simple, and many of them are not going to sell unless the sellers lower the prices enough to get one of those buyers that's actually out there qualified and motivated to buy a home. And here it says 44% of listings have been lingering on the market for 60 plus days. And I want to take a quick moment here and say that if you're going to be a home seller or you recently listed your home for sale, it is tremendously important that you really take the pricing conversation very seriously, because in this market, you might only have 1 or 2 chances with a buyer early on, and you want to make sure you capitalize on those opportunities and don't let them walk away. Because if you do, it could mean months and months of sitting on the market or never getting another viable offer after that. And here's a nice little chart kind of depicting what they're talking about. 44% of listings are sitting on the market for 60 days plus. So obviously that's not a good sign. It's been trending upwards. The total value of that stale inventory is $331 billion, which accounts for nearly half of the dollar value of all inventory. That's up 20.5% year over year. So the number of homes that are sitting on the market for 60 days or longer is up 20.5%, and it's roughly half of all the inventory out there is sitting for at least 60 days. So you got to keep this in mind and be realistic if you are going to be selling a home or you're selling a home now. And real quick, I just want to say, if I can help you with any real estate needs or you need a referral to a wonderful agent anywhere in the country, feel free to reach out to me. Next, I want to show you another article that was recently published a few days ago. I'll go ahead and link this one down below as well. But here it is. The US housing market has nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers, the most on record. That will likely cause home prices to fall. And my prediction, of course, is that if interest rates remain high, which I think there's a lot of factors pointing to the fact that they will, then absolutely we're going to start seeing prices fall, probably in multiple markets across the country, probably in the entire country, especially if it goes on for any period of time. Let's hit the highlights here. There are 34% more sellers in the market than buyers. That's a pretty big amount. At no other point in records dating back to 2013 have sellers outnumbered buyers this much. In other words, it's a buyer's market. Redfin expects home prices to drop by 1% at the end of the year as a result. I kind of find that interesting. I think that's a very small decline considering the headwinds that we're facing and the data that's coming out now, but of course, it's yet to be seen. Now look at this, 31 of the top 50 metros are buyers markets. You heard that right. 31 of the top 50 metros are currently buyers markets. The strongest buyers market is in Miami, where sellers outnumber buyers roughly 3-1. Now, I haven't really heard many people talking about this yet, but this one is quite staggering. The condo market heavily favors buyers. There are 83% more condo sellers than buyers. By comparison, there are 28% more sellers than buyers in the single-family home market. So when you look at the condo market or include the condo market in the analysis, it is almost unbelievable. To think that there's 83% more sellers trying to sell a condo than there are buyers able or willing to buy it is pretty amazing. And here they kind of summarize, in total, there are an estimated 1.9 million home sellers in the US housing market and an estimated 1.5 million home buyers. In other words, there are 33% more sellers than buyers. At no other point in records dating back to 2013 have sellers outnumbered buyers by this large of a number or percentage. A year ago, sellers outnumbered buyers by just 6.5%, and 2 years ago, buyers outnumbered sellers. So guys, these are the facts. This is what I've been talking about. We are in a buyer's market pretty much everywhere in the country, most of the country. Things have shifted. Sellers are no longer in control. Sellers are going to have to be a lot more savvy, a lot smarter with the pricing conversation, a lot more flexible when it comes to dealing with offers, have their homes in better condition, and have knowledgeable and skilled agents helping them through the process to make sure that their home is one of the homes that sells instead of their neighbors that's also sitting on the market. And again, if I can help you with any real estate needs here in SoCal, or you need a referral to a great agent anywhere else in the country, feel free to reach out to me. And here's a nice little chart where they're just kind of showing the imbalance between buyers and sellers. You could see for a while, 2015 through around 2020, there was a nice balance. Obviously, kind of COVID hit, and then there was nobody willing to sell, and there was a ton of buyers trying to buy all of a sudden. This is at the tail end while we still had the low interest rates. And then now, as the interest rates have kind of gone up for a couple of years, we see the imbalance break away to the other side. There's way more sellers trying to sell and way less buyers that are out there looking to buy. And here they kind of summarize the chart that we just looked at up there in the information. It says, the takeaway for sellers: time is not on your side. If you are considering selling, do it sooner rather than later because home prices in your area may fall. If your home is already on the market and has been sitting for over a month, you may want to consider an improvement to your property or a reduction in price. And the takeaway for buyers: many Americans have already been and will remain priced out of the housing market, even if prices decline. But for those who are still in the game, don't get discouraged. Your purchasing power will increase if home prices fall, wages rise, and market rates remain steady as expected. Homes that would have been out of reach 6 months ago may come into reach as sellers entertain lower offers and concessions. The last thing I want to share with you out of this article is some additional information on the condo market. There are an estimated 259,137 condo sellers in the U.S. housing market and an estimated 141,223 condo buyers. In other words, there are 83.5% more condo sellers than buyers. Pretty amazing, right? So overall, it's great to have this information and this knowledge if you're selling a property or you're going to be selling a property, because it's going to help you be more effective compared to other people that are in your same situation. And of course, for buyers, it's also good news in a lot of ways, because now there's a lot more inventory out there, a lot more opportunities to find a seller that's willing to be flexible, opportunities to get a much nicer property than you could have got a couple years ago with a lot less competition. And of course, there's negatives as well, but there's always pluses and minuses on either side. So I do hope this information was useful and valuable. Do let me know in the comments down below what you're seeing in your local area. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.